What's up, guys? Welcome to HealFlip. In this video, I am going to share how I overcame chronic anxiety, depression, anhedonia, depersonalization, derealization, and a host of other mental health and physical health problems without the need for any medication. So if you're struggling with anxiety, panic disorder, constant depersonalization, derealization, and you're trying medications and you're trying supplements and you're trying treatments and you are not seeing relief, this video is for you. I've been there myself. I tried all the different treatments. I tried a bunch of different medications. Nothing really helped me. And in fact, most of it made me worse. And I'm not here to tell you that some things can't help and can't be beneficial, but I'm here to tell you that I have done this completely without the need for any medications. And I want to share this video with people if they feel stuck and they feel like, man, my brain is broken or whatever, and none of these medications or supplements are working, that there's another way. There's another way to heal from all of these things, to get your body back into balance and to live a healthy, fun, meaningful, life with the whole host of range of emotions, good and bad, and welcoming them all. So I want to briefly kind of share my story. If you've watched other videos, you guys kind of know, like, I dealt with chronic Lyme disease for 20 years, on and off relapses, complete health. And throughout that journey, I also dealt with tons of mental health problems, like tons, like crippling anxiety, panic, terrible depression, like clinical depression, where I just felt, like, man, so bad in my body. And then even things that were worse, like anhedonia, which is like basically the inability to feel any positive emotion for things that can bring joy or happiness or anything like that. The inability to feel peace, love, joy, any of that, along with severe depression and anxiety. And that was pure hell. And then throw on top of years of depersonalization, derealization, and it was like, man, I had all of the worst mental health problems. It came with, panic disorder, like I said, OCD, paranoia, these type of things, because I was just so mentally sick, And I was trying, to find doctors and treatments that would help get me over the hump. And I would try things and they would fail, or they would backfire. They would just make me sicker. Or they wouldn't work at all. And I had eventually kind of was fed up. I was in this state of like, feeling awful, nothing working, feeling hopeless. And so if you're there, like, I just want you to know I've been there. I've been there many times and I've completely gotten out of it. So I'm going to share some like practical things that I did to hopefully help you on your journey if you feel stuck with all of these mental health complications, these neurological complications, to help you to know that, like, you're not alone in this. Like, there's help and there's hope out there. And like I said, it doesn't have to come from medication or supplements. So in my journey, you guys have heard me talked about this a little bit before. Um, I came across a book on acceptance and commitment therapy early on, maybe like 10, 15 years ago in my journey, that really was a game changer. Um, I had spent years dealing with anxiety, depression, depersonalization, derealization. And I came across a book, I forget which one, the first one that I came across, that, was sort of illustrating a new type of tactic or method for overcoming some of these feelings of anhedonia, of depression, of anxiety, of depersonalization, of derealization. And this was when I was like at my wit's end. And I was seeing therapists. So I wasn't really getting any help. And I came across this book, and it was like a method that I never really quite heard of, but kind of seemed to be something that I could grasp and make sense of and understand how and why it worked. And I began to implement some of these practices, and my life began to shift in ways I can't really even explain, where I started feeling joy again. I started experiencing some peace in my body again. And I started to see glimmers of a life that I'd completely forgotten lost. And that was through this practice of radical acceptance, of stopping to try to fix myself, and knowing that I'm not broken, that my body was just temporarily in this state. And even if that temporary state was months, if not years, I began to practice this radical acceptance. And I know that people think like, well, how I can't accept my chronic illness. I can't accept these mental health disturbances. They're so harsh and debilitating. And I was there too. Like I was like, it was every day was pure hell. Like I was just trying to get through a day. Every day I would wake up, can I get through the day? And hope that maybe it gets better in due time. But when I began to practice this acceptance and commitment techniques that I'm going to share, I started to, like I said, see glimmers, and then months down the road, actually get my life back, my mental health restored, and all of that. So I'm going to share. So obviously, I already talked about the acceptance piece, and I think I want to dive into like what that looked like for me. Acceptance is not I'm just resigned to the fact that this is going to be how it is. Acceptance is like I can't control this right now, and so the only thing left to do is let go of control and then trust that it's going to shift. And that trust comes from the commitment piece of acceptance and commitment, sort of therapy or techniques, whatever you want to call it. The commitment piece was beginning to act on my values and things that brought me joy in the past, or things that I wanted to do regardless, when I was feeling better, and beginning to take committed action on those things. And I'm going to talk about what that looked like, because at that time I was basically homebound, housebound. I was pretty much better routing a lot of the days. Like it was just like I would work a little bit if I had to, but most of the time it was like wake up, come back home, sit in bed, try to just get through, try to watch some TV, whatever. And that wasn't working. So the commitment piece was like, all right, so in the past, what had brought me joy, or what, could drum up these feelings of positivity, I needed to get back into them again. Even if I couldn't feel it, even if I had no desire to do it. And this was the key piece. It was like a challenge for myself, but also like, look, Joe, I know you don't have a desire to do this, but let's try it. And it was all just an experimentation for me. So in that state, I began trying things again. For me, it was like trying to get back into hobbies that brought me joy in the past when I was healthy, mentally well, and that was things like skateboarding. And even if I felt like crap, I would just go roll around on my skateboard. I began to leave my house a lot more. I would go on walks a lot, just be out in nature, because like that was like something that kind of brought me joy. And I would go to the park and just sit in the grass and like breathe and read and do these things. And if a friend asked me, hey, do you want to hang out? Like in the past, I would be like, nah, I can't. I'm just feeling so sick. I was just like, at this point, let me try. I can't, I don't feel good sitting here. I'm just going to try. And I would go try. And sometimes I only last 15, 20 minutes, but I would go, and then I started getting back more into like things that I acted on my values. So with acceptance and commitment therapy and techniques, what you really want to do is look at what you value. Do you value friendships? Do you value family? Do you value activities? Do you value, travel? Do you value setting goals? Like, regardless of how you feel mentally, what do you value in life? Now act on those values. And for me, some of those values were like, I want to get back in the gym. I want to, a value of mine has always been to be healthy and exercise. Well, you don't feel like doing it, try it. try it anyway. And then values for me were like I said, skateboarding. And a value for me is something that I love to do was like, I was really into cars. It was like when I was dealing with like these terrible DPDR, this Anhedonia, and friends, would ask me like, yeah, hey, let's go autocross, which is like a, sort of amateur racing. And I would, in the, when I felt bad, I just wouldn't do it. But then I just started saying, yes, let me try. And I would wake up and try. And when I would try these things, don't get me wrong, they were hard. I had no desire to do them. Um, Half the time I just wanted to turn around. I was, anxious doing them at first. Um, but then I started seeing these glimmers that was like, I haven't felt this in a while. I haven't felt this in months and years, where I feel a little bit of joy. I feel a little bit of that sense of accomplishment, that sense of peace. And it was like just this little nudge to keep going. Just this little nudge to keep going. Now, that wasn't just all of it. I began to do these things consistently. I began to practice these things consistently and just try. Everything was an experiment. But I also was doing things to help feel safe in my body. Now, those activities were like signaling safety in other ways. But at the time, also, and what you'll learn with like acceptance and commitment therapy and techniques, it's all about practicing safety and presence in the body. So there will be techniques around breathing practices and getting back into the present moment and feeling your emotions from a non-judgmental state. Because this is, I think, part of why people get caught up in anxiety, depression, anhedonia, and depersonalization, derealization, is we struggle to feel our emotions. We struggle to feel safe in our body when serious and uncomfortable symptoms and sensations arise. So when I was practicing these things, I was also allowing symptoms and sensations to arise and giving them space to be there in a non-judgmental way. And what that looks like from the somatic perspective and lens of healing emotions is, when anxiety would arise, and I would feel the tightness in my stomach or the tightness in my chest or the energy running through my body, it's like, okay, instead of getting caught up in my head and trying to get rid of, can I simply be with it? Can I allow it to be there? Can I feel that knot in my stomach and explore it through a non-judgmental lens? Can I feel it into it and see what it feels like? Is it sharp? Is it hot? Is it cold? Does it have a shape? Does it have a sensation? Okay, cool. And then it helped dissipate and disperse that energy and that emotion, and when it was like numbness and tingling in my body, can I just be with that? Can I feel those sensations? Breathe through it. This is another key thing, is like breathing through it, being present, getting out of the head back into the body. And I'm telling you guys, the combination of these things helped completely get rid of a lot of these things over time. It was not a quick fix, but within months, I began to see significant improvement. And then 6 months, anhedonia completely gone. 6 months and beyond, anxiety greatly diminished, depression greatly diminished, the derealization greatly diminished. And then I went on to make a full recovery, a year and a half later into it. And so if you're struggling with anxiety, panic, anhedonia, depersonalization, derealization, this could be something that could help you if the medications aren't working. They didn't help me. If the supplements aren't working, if the therapists aren't working, this could be a game changer for you. It was a game changer for me. It is also a lot of what I teach people now. It's a lot of what I teach people now. So it's not just worked for me. It's worked for so many people that I've worked with or that I've seen have come through and they're dealing with anhedonia. And if you deal with anhedonia, it's pure hell. Like, it's pure hell. If you've dealt with chronic depersonalization, derealization, it's pure hell. These techniques have helped me more than anything. They're more than anything. And this is what I'm passionate about sharing. Let me know if you guys have any questions below about how I practice some of these. There's nuances to it. It's not just like white knuckle through things, do activities. There's a lot of nuances of acceptance, of allowing the symptoms and sensations through a non-judgmental lens, getting back into the present moment, getting back into the body, rewiring the brain to better self-talk that signals safety versus panic. And there's a lot of nuances, but acceptance and commitment therapy and techniques, along with like being present with what is and allowing and you know getting back into hobbies and goals honestly shifted my entire life. And I believe that if you're struggling with a lot of these things, this could help you too. Let me know if you have any questions below. I will post the book, one of my favorite books on acceptance and commitment therapy, in the notes below. If you also guys want to know my story, I talk about it in my book. It's all in my head. I also share a lot of this within my class that I work with group, people through group techniques, and also when I work with people one-on-one. But you can do this by yourself if you are able to. If you need the support, it's here. Let me know if you guys have any questions.